Hi, this is Kelly and Aliya from Women Who Lead and Sell. We've got an outstanding episode for you today. We're talking with Toni Eastwood, OBE. She talks to us about building your confidence step by step.
If you're a female founder and you're looking to scale or grow your business, you're in the right place. We're on a mission to support 1,000 women to scale their business to 7 figures over the next 3 years. So if you find this content of use to you, please share it, subscribe, or DM us with some input on what you would like to see, what you would like to hear about, what questions you want answering. Where I wanted to start, Toni, was you raised £23 million to answer the question, what's stopping women? What did you find out?
What did I find out?
Yeah,
well,
we want to know.
I am going back some time, and unfortunately, I don't think a lot of this has actually changed. So it might have got a little bit better. But the key things were that women were much more risk averse than their male counterparts. And some of this sounds like sweeping generalizations, but it's been found again and again and again. And then women were very insecure and worried about, just worried that they weren't good enough, they weren't old enough, they were too old, they were too young, they didn't have enough qualifications, all of that like not good enoughness stuff. They were less qualified than their male counterparts, so they had less higher level qualifications. Now that isn't true anymore. There are more women go to university now in a lot of these sort of courses around leadership, management, business, media. There's more women at college and university than there are men. So that bit has got better. Women found it, and I know you guys have looked at this as well, much more difficult to get the money.
Yeah.
That, there was a real dearth of funding opportunities. They weren't being taken seriously. A lot of women were setting up their business on a credit card.
Yeah.
Because they could more easily get a credit card with, and I am going back some time as well, where you could get interest-free periods for a whole year.
Yeah.
And and so some did take a risk like that, but it was that sort of being risk averse meant that they were really worried about that as well. And then the other thing is they were not setting up their business for the same reason. So they weren't driven to start a business for money. That's not what it was about.
Yeah.
So it was to get away from the hideous corporate role that they've been stuck in, or it's that transcendence piece, got to the point in their life where they maybe have got what they need around them, but they felt like they wanted to give back. They wanted to serve, that purpose thing coming out.
Yeah.
So that they were the main things. There wasn't really a lot else, other than kind of wanting to create a better life for themselves and their family, and realizing that getting stuck in the grind of a 9-to-5 or a corporate career was not going to get them where they wanted to get to.
So the risk averse thing I really get, Toni, like I was going through those different findings, and the one I really want to land on, and I want to enter it like this. So I'm 47. I think I said to you, I've had a couple of businesses I've run to 7 figures, right?
Yeah.
I don't think, up until this last couple of years, I don't think I had the concept. I don't think I had the paradigm. I'm going to set something up so I can be really, I can do really well commercially. Like I think all of my businesses have been led by, I wanted to do it better. I wanted to express my ideas in a certain way. They were still profitable. They were still good. But I never climbed my personal Everest in business, and I haven't, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm sat in front of you today and I give you a potted history of my life, and I go, Toni, I really do want to go into something commercially now. and I know what you've done and I know the things you've done. Like, what would you say to me? Like giving me like a straightener. Like, what would you say to me?
I think the key thing is to, and this is what a lot of people miss when they're starting a business. So it's not about that academic business plan. It is really the why. Why are you doing it? And what is it that you really want to create? So at the get-go is getting that vision piece. And I call it I don't know, wildly important goal, or even your big hairy ass goal. It's like, what is that? You know, and you go back to any guru or, you know, business leadership expert, and they will tell you, you know, spend the time on creating in your mind and, you know, on paper, what is it that you really want to create? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And really get aligned to that, so that you can then stand back and then say, okay, so what's stopping me get there? And then you can put the plan together. And I find that we all go about that. You know, not many of us actually even now give ourselves that time to say, what is it we want to create? Why do we want to create it? We kind of go, oh, I want to start a business, or I don't want what I've got. And it's more, I see people going, I don't want this anymore. So the alignment is what you don't want. So, and we probably all know is you find more of what you don't want if you focus on it. Whereas if we focus on what it is that we want to create and why we want to create that, and what is that going to actually do for us? And this is a scientifically proven model. It's called WHOOP. It comes from a lady called Gabriella Ottingen. And creating that wish, what is it that you really want to do, and getting really granular on, you know, what will it be like as if I've already got it? And then look at, okay, so what are the outcomes likely to be for me? Like, I will have a better life. I might have more money. I can spend more time with the kids, or whatever that looks like for you. Why do you want to create that? And then the bit that is different is like, you rub that against your current reality and say, what are the obstacles that I'm creating that are getting in the way of that? It's not normally the outside obstacles, and then you can put your plan together. But we don't usually start with that. What is it we want to create?
No, I really get that real I don't know, I was just getting like real conviction and commitment when you were saying it. And then that makes a lot of sense. And then what about my question around, like, I really do want to put money. Like, for the first time, I really want to factor money in when I haven't previously. It's been very purpose meaningful. Like, money's been like down the track. Like, now I'm ready to really like drive forward. Like, what else did you tell me?
So again, and this is why that model that I just spoke to you, WHOOP, wish, outcome, opportunity, plan, is a really powerful model, because you can start with it at a big level. And then you can come down and say, right, now I'm going to whoop money. What is my wish around that? What does it look like? What, you know, how much do I want to make? And then, you know, what might the obstacles be about that? And then also, I think when you like focus on the money, you can then say, well, okay. And this is another thing that I see with, you know, almost all my clients is they kind of think like anyone and everyone's their client, and they're not. We all know that. So if you want to make that money, then it's about saying, well, okay, what do my charges need to look like, or my fees, however you want to sort of position that. And then who is the absolute best type of client that I can go out and sell that to? And then I need to position my offer and my messaging and everything around my business around talking to that. I don't know if I call it soulmate client, you know, what are they really like? Where are they? Where do they hang out? What are their ultimate desires? What's holding them back? And then all your messaging, your sales, your marketing needs to go after that client. And the biggest thing that I see, and I've done it, is you think everyone's your client and you kind of try and go out there and talk to everybody, and then it doesn't land with anyone.
No, it doesn't. I love that.
Or we have a million different offers of it, and entrepreneurs, we're all like, oh, I like that. We're on to the next shiny thing. we position a million different offers so we confuse everyone.
Yeah.
And there's I used to think it was a Chinese proverb, but it's actually Russian. It's called chase two rabbits, catch none. And so like, if you're going out there trying to go, well, I've got this today and that's tomorrow, and then you're just confusing everyone, they don't know what you do. So it's like, who is that ideal client? Where are they hanging out? What's my messaging? And then what's the one thing that they will buy at that price that you need to sell at in order to get the money that you're going after, that ticket price that you want. And I would also get you to think about, especially women, I see they totally underprice themselves. They don't value themselves. They worry about the pricing. It always comes last. And they're worried about saying, well, I'm £500 an hour, or I'm whatever.
Yeah.
And like, I don't see too many men worrying about that thing.
I love that answer. I was so determined. I'm like, it's such a, like, feels like such a rich conversation with you, like the real practical stuff. Like there's not much you have not dealt with personally and then with your clients.
If you're listening to this podcast, you're interested in hearing other people talk about the questions you want to ask about growing your business, and we have the space for you. We have something for you in that regard. Kelly?
Yeah, we've set up something called the Future Room that's filled with female founders who are asking the same questions as you. It's a safe, non-judgmental space where we can really just like talk about what's going on for us in good company with women who want to grow. So come along and join us. It's on LinkedIn.
Continuing on in this vein, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about value and over-delivering and undervaluing, because I think women tend to over-deliver. They over-engineer stuff, right?
Yeah.
Would you say then that, because this makes me feel uncomfortable, but I'm going to say it anyway. Would you say it's somewhat ruthless to go, right, I want to earn, I don't know, 10,000 next month. I'm going to have 10 clients because that's what I can handle. And then look at what fits into the price. Is that a good approach? Or because I think where most people go is, here's my product, and then price gets kind of tacked on afterwards. And that's where they start to over-deliver. What's your view on that?
I am all for having that financial conversation first and putting it out there, but, with yourself, with others, and with your clients. I definitely don't leave it till right at the last minute until someone's going, well, I really like the sound of this, but I have no idea how much it's going to cost. Like letting people know means that you don't have a stupid dance with people who can't afford you or haven't got the money. And I think you're right. It's like getting real clarity on, okay, what is it my client wants? How much do I want to charge for this? And then, okay, what can I package in? So I think there's two things with over delivery. I think there's one thing is we can over deliver because we're not feeling confident that we're offering enough value. But then I'm equally of the vein that I want to over deliver so that clients get such great value from me. But it's because I know that they're paying for something that is valuable, and I feel like I'm getting the right price for it in the first place. So, I'm not going to over deliver if someone's, not paying me the value, or if I'm in a space of scarcity. It's about giving great value, I think. And, and I'm also one where you need to serve in order to get paid in the first place. So how can I be of service? Because I know there are some people, and they're not necessarily my ideal client, but I still feel like I want to help. So there is a great many women that we've all got big, hairy, audacious goals around how many women we'd like to serve in our kind of manifestos or our visions. Or my napkin that I wrote sort of 15 years ago was to help 1 million women. Now I know there are a lot of women out there that haven't got the propensity to pay for whatever reason. So, I have got free content. I might do the odd challenge. I might give away things in order to serve there, and hope that one day when they get to a position where they can afford to come on one of my programs, then they would do that. So I do think there's like a few nuances that are around this, is not over delivering because you don't feel you're good enough.
Yeah.
But maybe giving great value or great perceived value because you'll know you're getting what you're worth, and you want to serve your customers.
Yeah. I love that.
It's a fine distinction though, isn't it? And you
It
can
is.
tip easily into the one where you're like going a bit bananas, especially with all this AI that's going around, where you can just produce a bunch of stuff, and that's another conversation maybe.
Yeah,
We can go there if you like.
Do you know what? I think
opinion on it.
Well, I just actually had a conversation with a potential client that I'm working with, and they've got this real scarcity mindset around AI. So they actually write bids for people, and so they're thinking we're going to lose all our clients, we're going to get put out of business because of this. And I've heard and seen this a lot, but I actually think that for some of it, the clients that they've never had in the first place and couldn't afford them will be the ones using the AI. The clients that can afford them and can see the value of what they're offering by not using AI, or not purely using AI, using it to help them kind of get 80% of the way there, then tweak something so that it actually sounds like you, it sounds like you've put some effort in and doesn't look like everyone else's who have just purely used AI. I actually think they'll get more business because of that.
Yeah.
Because, we'll all get to a certain level with AI, and then you can see where it's being used. There's some dead giveaways, but I also don't see that is really any different from me going to a bid writer or a marketeer or a copywriter and saying, write something for me. That's still not my voice. That's still written by someone else. So I think it will help us get to a certain place with our content or our material, but it will still be restricted by the level of, our own ability to say, well, does that sound like me? Is that content right? I used it for a bid I was writing a couple of months ago, and we have to put something in our bids called social value. Now, I asked AI to write that for me, and what it gave back was absolute tosh. Now, if I didn't know my stuff, I might have used that. So you can see where you would be able to see if someone's just used AI and don't really understand a concept or what it is that you're supposed to deliver around it, or how it links to what you're doing. If you don't know, you don't know, and you'll use it and it'll be really obvious. But if you do know, you can get it 80% of where you want to get it to. And then you've got the 10%. And then, if you think about how much extra work and capability that we've got because we use that. So, I'm all for it. I find it quite exciting, and I'm not seeing it as a threat. I'm seeing it as something that's just going to enhance our ability to maybe produce more, be more productive, but only if you know what you're doing. And if you know your stuff. So if someone decided, I'm going to do a workshop on business, and they didn't know about business and they've not run one, it's soon going to become obvious that that's what they're doing. And then they're going to, either not get any clients or lose them fast. So,
just all the,
it does lower the barrier to entry, and that can sometimes not be a good thing, isn't it? I'm a massive fan of AI. I see the opportunity in it. I also see the pitfalls, and when we talk to clients who are not familiar with it and say, well, look, we're going to get you started, so we have a little thing that we support them with. I will say to them, here are the pitfalls, and let's deal with any objections you have. Because if you're not
Yeah.
aligned with it, then you shouldn't use it. And
Yeah.
the phrase that we always use between us, Kelly and I, is I've produced something, it's a jumping off point. So it's the 80% is the jumping off point.
Yeah.
And then we've got to re-scrutinize it and go, well, is that right? Is that us? Is that our lived experience? Actually, because I just don't think people bring lived experience to that stuff. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what you have to bring. And then you can spot it a mile off, like you say. But it's the cat's out of the bag now. Everyone's going to use it.
Yeah.
So you may as well lean into it. And if any class of people needs some efficiency tools, it's women. Because at the end of the day, we're still predominantly the carers, the family anchor, the this, the that. So we need these tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's for me. That's what I see. It's a productivity tool, and like you say, it gets you 80% of the way there. Or I like to call it my first crappy draft.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
And I got stuck the other day. I was stuck in traffic, and I was meant to be going home to prepare for something that I was doing the next day. Maybe I should have prepared before the next day, but I thought, I'm really stuck here. I'm never going to get this done. And then suddenly I thought, do you know what? I'm going to put it into ChatGTP. So while I'm in the car, I'm giving it a voice note. And by the time I'd got home, it had prepared me a set of slides, which I then went through, sat over my dinner and over TV in the evening, and I just then finalised it, and it literally saved my bacon. That might say something about me needing to be a bit more prepared, but you're right. We all try and juggle and do so much that, it really helped me.
Yeah.
But
Brilliant.
Equally, I didn't go away and then, pitch up the next morning with that set of slides, having not looked at them and made sure that they were me and I knew how to talk to them.
When we spoke initially, Toni, I was really struck by your passion and your experience with women, your own journey and then seeing others. And something I've been thinking about since we spoke was I have had conversations with two major financial institutions, both about their women in leadership stuff. And when we've been in our scoping conversations, I've put forward the conditions that I think their women will perform better in. And we're talking performance, their financial services and what they're experiencing, both organizations, is that women aren't innovating. They're not performing as well. They're not actually going into the industry. So they have a huge, female skills gap. More women are buying. So they have this whole business case and a set of challenges. And when I've said about the conditions, I think that we could set up the learning incubators earlier, much more kind of fostering relationships, speaking, allowing them to speak up and use their voice and shape things. When I was, because that's been my work for, the last 20 years with women, when I gave what I thought, the people I was presenting to in both, and they were all men, couldn't hear it. It was great to be in the conversation. It was really engaging. I wasn't shut down, all the that kind of things we hear, but they didn't sign off and they couldn't hear it. So again, I'm kind of coming to you and just being like, what have you seen? What is going on? How come they can't hear? Do they not want to hear? Do they completely not understand it? And we need to take a radically different approach to saying the conditions for women to really do well are different to what we've got now.
It's so hard because I've seen exactly the same thing, but I think, if we go back 2,500 years, that's how long this has all been going on for. So it's going to take a lot longer for us to, turn that ship around. And I feel like a couple of things happen. One, sometimes I really feel like they're playing lip service to it all. They will have a meeting with you. They will pretend they're listening, but they don't really want it to change because actually that's going to mean something for them, whatever that means to them.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I think it's all laziness. I just think that people just can't be bothered to actually really sort this out, because if they really wanted to, they would be doing it. They would be listening. They would be going, oh wow, we've never thought about that, let's do it. So I like, if any of us knew the answer to this, then we'd all be in a good space, wouldn't we? And we probably wouldn't be needed. So quite a lot of the time, I just don't understand why they don't listen and they don't make that effort. And then they'll come back with answers like, oh, well, yeah, but we can't do things like that just for women because we don't do that for men or everybody. And I'm like, but it's the point is you do everything basically based around a man's world, which is why you're not getting the women sort of coming into it. And then you don't want to do what needs to be done to make those changes. I literally have no idea. And like I say, if I did, then we would all either be making a lot more money or, you know, we wouldn't need to be here because they will have listened, because, you know, frankly, all of that information is out there if they really want to find it. If they really want to do something about this, it's all there, which is why I get absolutely mad on International Women's Day when they all come out of the bloody woodwork, you know, shouting about, look at what we're doing. And I'm like, yeah, but you still got a crappy, you know, pay gap. You still got, you know, a lot of them have now had women as their CEOs or their, you know, executive directors, and they still haven't done anything in their companies.
I didn't know what you would say, but those two examples of those, and they're innovative organizations, they literally had the same issues, you know, in that industry for women. And I'm like, I've never gone out with any major like feminist campaigns or anything in industry, because I've always been in male dominated industries and it didn't work, so I didn't bother. But when faced with these two clients who were coming to me for the reasons that I am doing, you know, the work I'm doing, I'm like, but it's so clear you're presenting the business challenge, but you're not willing to do anything.
I think, you know, for me, I'd call them out on it and say, like, I'm just really intrigued as to why would you spend the time and have me spend the time if actually you're not going to do anything about it, whether that's with me or not.
Do you think they see us as a problem? Do you think they see women as a problem to be solved and sorted? Because I just think we're like the biggest opportunity. Like we're like this untapped opportunity. Yeah, we need figuring out, and we need to like assemble in a different way. But like, there's so much like all around me, there's just so much leadership. I'm like, you have to work so hard to get anything through. Like it's ridiculous. Like it's no wonder so many just they don't give up, but they kind of fizzle out and they go to the side on a project. You know, they just don't. It just doesn't. There's no container for it to land.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end we vote with our feet. I run a female leadership program, and I had a really amazing young woman on the program. And I'm talking about a major food manufacturer, okay? The girl was just brilliant. And I just thought, oh, she's amazing. She's young. She just had a baby. And she's really, really hungry, really, really switched on. And I was thinking, God, if I was half as switched on as her, you know, her age, I think I would have done amazing. But I saw her struggle. So she was in their talent pipeline. So she'd been like hooked out. And she was working in their sales division, first of all. And she'd like almost reached the top. And then they said to her, well, you're not going to get that director position unless you know more about the business. Okay. So what they did was they put her on a development program for 2 years, and they put her out in different parts of the business. So like she went right out into manufacturing, and that's where she was like working in manufacturing, and she was doing a brilliant job. The director position job came up in the sales division. So she went and had a conversation with them about it, and they said, oh, well, you've been out of this now for 2 years, so you couldn't possibly come back in to a director position. And she said, well, look, that is my passion. That's what I want. That's what I want. What do I need to do to get there? And they said, come back in at a level lower than what she was in there in the first place in order to get back on the pathway. And this is what they do. So guess what she was talking to me about? Finding another job. So they've actually invested all that money in the talent pipeline, in working on trying to figure out who these women were in their business, what they wanted, the trajectory they're going to put them on, put them out into like a development opportunity, only to then say, when you come, when something comes up, you've got to go backwards. And I've seen it all over the place. And this is where she's like, well, up yours, basically, excuse my French, but so she's voted with her feet, and she's very young and she's got very disheartened. So I have no idea. And, I like to call it the human remains department, because that's what I feel like, that's how they treat you. But, and the human remains department have done nothing about it. And these guys at the top of the business are able to treat someone like that. They would never do that to a male candidate.
No,
they just would not do that.
I'm just letting it sink in. Like I am. Yeah.
I think that's maybe what you're saying. Then what women tend to do then is they go, well, if I'm not allowed to climb that mountain, then I'll make my own mountain.
Yeah,
and that's maybe the answer to some extent, is to just, if you can't join them, beat them. What's really interesting is that, during the, I think it was the 2008 financial collapse, when the Icelandic banks all went bankrupt.
Yeah.
There was one financial institution that had not overgeared, over-leveraged, that had led to some of these banks were lending at 49 times their value. And there was one bank that had not done that. And it had 2 female founders and shareholders. That was it. And they had seen the bandwagon of all this activity, and they'd gone, something doesn't feel right here. We're not doing it. And a lot of people were very critical of them. They were saying, look, your returns are crap because you're not doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And they were the last man standing, so to speak, last woman standing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I suspect what may happen is women will go, well, that's fine. Okay, we'll just create our own ecosystem then. We'll just create this over here. It's full of women. It's for women customers. We're going to do it our way. We're going to still stick to the capitalistic model. We're going to play by those rules, but we'll modify them to suit ourselves.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the answer? Because it seems a shame, but what do you think?
I think that is an answer, definitely, but it's going to take some great women to go out and do that. Because like I say, women are normally more risk averse, which they were actually, in your example, they were more risk averse, and that actually stood them in good stead. But there's not a lot of women that could go out and just set something like that up, because there's not the financial support to do it. I think women get like 2% of the, capital and things like that. Now, I've also seen some reasons why that might be as well. Like, when they pitch differently. When they answer questions, they answer the questions differently. They answer questions more negatively. If a guy is asked, well, how would you deal with this, this and this, they will come straight back at you with the positive, whereas a woman will go down a negative route to get to the positive, but then they switch the investor off. And there's been a lot of research around that, so it's probably about how do we help and enable women to pitch for and actually win, because they do things slightly differently to how men generally do. But I think it's great, and a lot of innovation can come from women setting up something that's designed for women.
Yeah.
That's meeting needs of women. There's a massive gap in a lot of markets because, men don't necessarily do that, do they?
No.
There's a great example at the moment with, have you seen that Generation M for menopausal women?
No.
And they're, the lady running it, she's seen that there's just this massive gap for all sorts of things and conditions that women are going through with menopause.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's gone out there and she's got like a brand, it's called MTIC. And her name's Heather Jackson. And she's now getting retailers and FMCG companies to sign up for this MTIC and demonstrate their support of women. And a lot of people and organisations are saying to her, well, why would we need to do that? And she's going, well, because there are like 70 billion women worldwide that are going through sort of 49 different symptoms of menopause, and you don't support them with your product. And actually, so if nothing else, it's a massive market. But we don't often look at that. Women make the lion's share of all buying decisions. And, any company not aligning themselves to that, in either reflecting women in their senior management or in their offer, are missing out massively.
One of the answers is definitely not is becoming your own business, like actually starting your own business. Like, okay, I'm exiting from that organization and I'm going to believe in myself and back myself. And then hence, our scaling conversation, a woman will start a business, build a good minimum viable product. And then, and then the journey is set again. And that's a huge ask for a woman because she doesn't have the early foundational blocks, whether that's the numeracy stuff, all of those things. But to spell it out for our listeners, we have the conditioning around speaking up and being assertive and all of that. So I'm not kind of, playing the violin around that. I'm literally just saying, like, look at it, assess the conditions and assess the person. And actually, most women do need a lot more training and develop and education and support. So a supportive nature to thrive. Like, and then, then you've got children and all the other things that they take responsibility for. Most women want to do that, whether they're nurturing and looking after other people in the family. But I was just thinking then, like we've got things like Dragon's Den and, we've got those things on the TV, which I've always loved. And then we've got those regionally. There's loads of things going on, whether it's like mini chamber of commerce things, like loads of stuff all across the UK and globally. I've been part of big business hubs globally. Would you say that women do need to like up their game in those like really being like scrutinizing their products, like really building good minimum viable products? Because if a product creates good value and it's commercially sound, like we are going to attract investment, right? So would you say that like a good thing for women would be that we would get better, all of us as educators, trainers, facilitators of empowerment and progress, that if we built products that were better at teaching women in all kinds of different ways, how to pitch, how to present, how to win funding, but I'll take it back to that product, like building a great product that is saleable. Does seem to be, lots of people just, stall at that stage. So what do you think about that?
I think it's knowing where to go for help, isn't it? So we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And we might think that we've got a great product idea. So, and here's what quite often happens with women. And actually, I was speaking to a guy last night about this, actually, because he's got an app that he's developed. And he was saying that he was facing the same thing. But like, you get to a point where you think, well, I've got this idea, but I don't really know, is it good enough?
Yeah.
And so they stop themselves at that point. Mm-hmm. But so it's like having that sort of self-efficacy that, well, if I've got an idea, I believe in myself, but that's easier said than done. Is like, how do you make someone believe in themselves?
Yeah.
And the biggest issue I find is, and we've probably all done it, you speak to friends and family. And of course, they do not get you. They don't get you. No. And they're like, well, I think that's a stupid idea. Why would you, like, when I spoke to my mum and dad about setting up my business, even though I'd just been not made redundant, but got rid of my corporate. It was like, what do you mean you're starting your own business? Isn't that dangerous? Isn't that? And I'm like, I've just been basically kicked out of a big corporate job. Like, I think that's dangerous going back there.
Yeah.
And like, so like, had I'm a different person. Had I listened to that, I would never have done it. And even my partner, he's always amazingly supportive of me. And I actually supported him in his 3 businesses before I ever went into business myself. And he was like, oh, well, I was on a big 6-figure salary, and it was like, it's changed for them, like going, well, that's quite nice to have. What if you don't earn that again,
Yeah.
And so we can easily, and maybe it's not just women, but we get easily put off by that.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
So like, how do we know where you can find that support and advice if you don't know what support and advice you need? So I think there's a really big gap in finding the support and advice you need, and finding the people, like there used to be business links. I don't know if you remember them. That's where I started my life out, in one of those in 1990.
What were they? Business links? What were they?
So like growth hubs. I think they call them growth hubs now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if you were, I don't know, Jane Doe off the street, and you were wanting to start your business, you would not know that there was a growth hub. Like, so
you wouldn't.
How do we find out? And there are amazing sort of financial advisors and support there. I suppose we turn to online and we can try and find something, but it's like knowing what you're looking for. And I think that's the issue, is like knowing what it is that you need to know, because we don't know what we need to know.
Yeah, we don't.
And we get put off.
Yeah, I love that you said that putting off, and other people and what they think. One of our other conversations has been about putting yourself in the right environments with people who, are doers and will think bigger and will encourage you, because you're in development. I mean, basically, if you're in business or if you're entrepreneurial, you're basically in development for your whole life. That's what you're signing up for, because everything is dynamic, everything is changing. There is always plenty of competition, and it's such a pathway, isn't it, for you to like just keep expanding your thinking, but also deepening the products and your understanding of the customers. Like, you really got to like put yourself out there. And I think I get what you're saying about knowing where to go for support. It astounds me that people still get scared and don't think they can bring their ideas to life. And because I'm in that world, I can be in a coffee shop and I've just met 3 people and they've all got ideas, and I'm like, but they're just kind of like lost with them in the air, and I'm like come on, like let's go. Like innovation and all of that stuff is like the lifeblood really of our economies. It's so it's so important.
I was going to say, it comes back to, and I always, and the conversation we just had about AI, is if you really want to stimulate that, then you need to start in education. Is like, I know there are some great pockets of some great things happening in education and in schools, but it's not embedded properly.
No, it's not.
That like you don't have entrepreneurship at school necessarily. I know there are some things, and I've done advisory positions for stuff like that, but there isn't enough. Being an entrepreneur isn't, or starting a business isn't seen as a legitimate career.
No, it's not.
And a lot of young people don't have entrepreneurs around them. If they're lucky enough to have that, they will probably more likely want to do it themselves. But it's just not something that you especially in the UK, you still don't see like entrepreneurship as a big thing. I think it is slightly different in America. It is a big thing. And also, in America, it's like, well, you got a badge of honor if you've started a business and it's failed.
Yeah.
And we all know that we learn from that failure. And, we all know that, like you say, every day we're learning. I like to say every day is day one, because if I'm lucky enough to wake up, I've got to start again. And you've got, everything's a learning curve. And I also think that especially in the British sort of culture, we want to be happy and we want to have stuff and things, but I don't think we value what goes into being able to have a lifestyle like that or have the things that you want. They don't just come easily, and we can't just be happy and have an easy life with actually outputting work into it. So I do think there is a thing about work ethic, and that things don't just come easily. You know, you're not going to start something up and make millions overnight. You know, you've got to put the effort in, and it almost does have to be something that you stick at and that you're passionate about, because every day isn't going to be easy, and every day you're not going to be happy. So, you know, if you want that, you've got to work hard at it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like my whole body just slowed down listening to you then, but I just got one of the principles that I really care about and I'd forgotten about, is just like really having people understand work ethic. And if you don't fall in love with it and fall in love with the process, like you're not going to get anywhere, because it is just an ongoing work, isn't it? That mixed, blended with the Whoop thing that you told us earlier. I love that. I think they're very, very practical. Like I can imagine one of our listeners listening to that. You can apply it at any stage, you know, that Whoop, and then bringing it back to the money and then that work ethic thing. We've got a couple of quick fire questions. Can I start with this one?
Yeah.
So what's one rule of business you have joyfully broken and that you would break again?
Every time. So I am the antithesis for go check out your competition. Total BS.
Oh yeah.
Because I who cares? And this is what holds especially women back. Who cares what anyone else is doing? If you've got something that you think can serve someone, or a product that you think is going to make people's life easier or make them happier, or, you know, solve a problem for them, then just go out there and focus on you and your ideal client and get out there and serve it up to them, because no one else can ever be you. And no one else can ever do you. So who cares what anyone else is doing? I really don't. I think it's a total waste of time.
Oh, I love that.
I love that.
Oh
that you freed up a lot of people saying
you
that.
Totally did.
I hope so.
You did.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one. If your business disappeared tomorrow, what would you build next?
I literally did have the situation where my business disappeared overnight.
Yeah,
I got mine to £1 million turnover, and unfortunately I failed kind of an audit, and this is not me just like saying it, but it really was completely unfair. But life isn't fair. And so the next day I had to start from ground zero and start again. And I built and started to build. And as you've already said, I'm building every day. I'm, you know, moving forward on that every day. So I built my dream life and built my dream business. And I don't think that I would change it much, really. I think I would just start again and say, okay, I've got a blank piece of paper again. What is it that I want to create? I would literally do Whoop, and I Whoop everything.
Yeah.
And I would just do that again. And I regularly do that again. You know, like stuff doesn't always go swimmingly well. I think in life, certainly for me, I've had one vision, which has always been about helping small business owners, and then it morphed into women. But I've had many missions, but it's all been that red thread has always been there. Like you chop my arm off and I'm sure it's like a piece of rock, it will be in there.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really good to regularly actually have that conversation with myself. And I do this exercise. I go, right, if I had 30 days to start something and get it moving, what would I do differently? How would I change things up? And that for me, about this time last year, was very revolutionary. And I got rid of 2 people that had been working with me for a long time, because I really knew that they weren't really working for me. And it wasn't working for the business. It wasn't going in the right direction. And it hurt. I mean, I cried, but I had to do it. I'm crying now.
So
I had to do it because I knew it was just not going to work going forward. And I, and it took me too long to make that decision.
Yeah. Oh boy,
And
ain't that the case sometimes?
yeah. And I just thought, I've let this go on for far too long, to the point, it almost broke me and the business again. And I just thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? And in the end, it was so freeing, so freeing.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this. This
Yeah,
feels
you're going to like this next one.
This just feels like it was a question made for you.
Oh.
And thank you for sharing that, by the way. If you could write, I'm going to say, a giant Post-it note to every woman growing and scaling her business, what would it say?
I think it would say something like, what is it you really want, even if it might fail?
You got me going now.
No, that's really beautiful.
Whooping in all sorts. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
On a completely different direction.
Yeah.
Right. And this came from what you said the other day. You'll know where this came from. But you basically said once, confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And it sounded like you'd been through that step by step, painful step by step. Explain to me where you were and where you got to. Where does that come from? That statement.
Whoa. Well, you're probably going to make me cry again now. Didn't
Sorry.
come on here for that. So it comes from, I was 5 years old. These things never go away, so they always come back to bite you, especially when you're on a podcast. I was really badly bullied at school, and it started when I was 5 years old, and it went on till I was 15. And then I found the bully pretty much everywhere I went. And it held me back till I was about 44, to be honest. And it still comes back to bite me now, hence why, you always, I get quite emotional when I talk about it because it's so raw. But what I found was, so I held myself back for years and years in my career. I couldn't even speak. I could not speak. And I really wanted to put myself out there. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to, really work hard. So I did a lot of that, but I couldn't speak and articulate about what I wanted. Now you can't shut me up. But what I realized was I was always waiting for confidence. I think it was the moment when I walked away from the corporate career. Well, I didn't have much choice about it. I took a compromise agreement, and I was in a coffee shop in deepest, darkest Bradford. That might give you a hint as who I work for. And I just thought, you know what, this has just got to stop. And I realised that confidence doesn't come unless you do something. You have to be in action. You have to do stuff in order to grow and develop your confidence. So the confidence actually means trust in yourself. And until you kind of look in and go, okay, I trust myself enough to just take one tiny step and step forward into that sort of that edge of your comfort zone. When you do that little step and realize, actually, I can do that, then I can take the next one, and what's the next one, and what's the next one. And with that grows your confidence. So you build it from inside by trusting, your gut, we've got our head, our heart, and our gut. And all of them are we've got more neurons in our gut actually. And if you've got a feeling that something needs to change or you've got an idea, it's like go with it, but take action no matter how you feel, because in taking the action, you build your confidence and then you can step forward into the next one. So I always say, like, we've got the opportunity to step forward into growth or back into safety. And when we step back into safety, our comfort zone actually shrinks. Our confidence sort of lives on the other side of our comfort zone, but you only get there by getting into action and taking action. So it's built in, inch by inch, it's built. Or for the more advanced ones of a centimetre by centimetre in this current language.
Oh my God, especially where you are in Spain. Definitely centimetre by centimetre, isn't it? Do you find this is something that almost your clients have to address before you can even start to give them any other advice? Is this something that comes up for you? Would you say that, because I think sometimes we tend to attract that thing that is quite tender for us, but our lived experience is such that we can go, oh, I know what that feels like. Let me tell you how I handled it. Do you find that?
And it isn't just women. I just think that confidence thing is always there for most of my clients that I'm dealing with. It's a rare client that hasn't got this, like, actually, really it comes down to self-belief about taking that next step, about getting to that dream business that they want, or, you know, letting go so that they can get in there. It's always us that gets in the way. It's rarely anything outside, because we all know that anything outside, you know, is not in our control. So it's always about what's in our control that can move us forward. And we are all getting in our own way, especially, you know, getting to that, I don't know, from 5 to 6 figures and then 6 figures to 1 million, and then breaking that £1 million barrier. Everyone, you know, always says that once you do that, it actually becomes easier because you've kind of laid the foundations and got out of your own way to do that. So I don't always deal with it first. What I try to deal with is, what is it you actually want? Because a lot of people will talk about what they don't want, what they don't like, what they don't want anymore, what they hate about stuff. Like, so we're all quite good at manifesting a lot of that, you know, like things we don't want, because that's what we focus on. And I know that's just us being human. It's not because it's us. So by focusing on, okay, so what is it you want? It actually flips the switch in your mind and changes your thinking pattern, because we can all very easily go down that same thinking pattern of, well, I don't want this and I don't want that and this is not working. And I think if we focus on what we want and create that vision of what it is that we want, then we can come back and go, okay, so what's getting in the way of that then? And it just makes you think differently, and like I say, flips the switch on that, so you can say, oh, well, what I want is, and we can all go, well, yeah, I want this, and you can see people light up differently because they're talking about what they want, and we change. And I know I spoke about, like, I don't want to come across woo or anything, but we change our vibrations when we're focusing on what we want, when we're moving towards what we want, as opposed to saying, well, I don't want this. You can see people sort of physically draining when they focus on things that they don't want and they don't like. And
absolutely. Absolutely. And I know we touched on it before when we spoke, but we're all for the woo. Well, you know, we know we have to call it that because that's like, ooh, but I'm like, just go there, because like we are all about that. And it is so true. Like when you can bring people to that contrast in thinking, feel what it's like there and then feel what it's like here. And then we just keep practicing that. And we keep taking those actions, that is what's going to transform things, you know, and the check-ins and the goals and all the rest of it. So, yeah, we're all about the woo.
We've been talking about, with another guest, about surrounding yourself with the right people. And I think if you surround yourself with people that, like you're saying, are vibrating on a no, there is an abundance out there, there's business for all of us, which I clearly get you, that's where you come from. I'm like that. I'm constantly looking at where's the opportunity, how can I think expansively. I think if that's authentic, there's something very attractive about that. And if you put yourself in a room full of those people, that's where the magic happens. That's where you get your questions answered, because you'll hear someone else ask a question and you go, that's such a great question. That's the question I want answered as well. And funny enough, I think the ecosystem of podcasts is particularly good for that. Because we're all pretty much, we're in our niches. We're talking to our people, about the things we want to know. And it's so, this is why they're expanding, because people are like, I want to be in that conversation. No, not that one. That one over there, that's the one for me. And that's where the good questions are being asked. And funnily enough, sometimes when we find clients are very stuck, what I say to them, because I come always from how you're communicating, that's my skill. What I'll often say to them is, I just think you're just not asking the right question right now. How about you frame it this way? How about this question? And it's so gorgeous to see them suddenly go, like literally change how they're sitting and go, oh yeah, that's the right, that's what I want to know. What they tend to do is get in a loop of asking the wrong question. And I think that sort of touches on what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's so powerful what you said there about, I think that even as coaches or mentors or whatever it is that we call ourselves, when we're all our own worst client, so we all need to be with people that are, moving in the same direction as us, got the same aspirations. And whoever you work with, I say, get yourself a good coach or a good mentor, because they can see that you, as you've just explained there, Aliya, that you're not asking the right question. And you, even as the best coach in the world on yourself and in your own business, you don't see that. And just having someone to bounce that idea off of, or people that are going in, or maybe a couple of steps away from where you'd like to be, that they're great places to be in, because you do see different opportunities, you hear different conversations, you will see they talk differently, sound differently, ask different questions in different ways. And I think it's always such an abundant place to be. And we are in such a lucky situation nowadays. And if I compare myself to when I was working sort of in this sphere in the 1990s, there wasn't the internet, there wasn't LinkedIn, there wasn't all these places, there weren't podcasts, there weren't all these places where you can really niche and find your niche, find your tribe, find the people you want to hang out with for nothing.
Yeah.
We're in such a lucky place, but
really are.
Absolutely, get yourself a mentor, or get yourself in a group, or a coach that's, being where you want to go, and can help you figure out what are those questions that I'm not asking myself.
So speaking of places, where can people find you, Toni?
Probably best to find me on LinkedIn. So Toni Eastwood, OBE.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
By the way.
Oh, thank you.
That's probably a hard one. Yeah. Toni Eastwood, OBE. And we'll have some information about you in our show notes.
Oh, thank you.
Toni, it's been a pleasure. I mean, I just love talking with you. Well, I love listening to you, actually, is the thing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
go on.
Thank you both for having me on. It's been great.
Thank
you.
And
I love your podcast, and I'm looking forward to hearing lots more of it.
Oh, amazing.
Cool.
And for me, I think just the way I don't know, I think it's just something about going back to the conditions that women grow. Like I know for myself personally, if somebody slows down and like is really attuned and really cares about what they're saying, like I don't have to recall it, or I don't have a memory of, work to do. It just like absorbs, and my body was literally like, like, so thank you so much. Like I got like little Toni impressions that I can just carry around in the world. I know there's going to be loads of other conversations we can have. So we'll stay in touch, and just like
absolutely.
from our heart, like, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.